And welcome back to the Engage 8 podcast. Here today with Robby Elliott to recap what happened in week 2. Robby, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Ready to recap everything that happened in college football this weekend. And then, on Thursday, ready to talk about the games that are going to happen this upcoming weekend, which, it's kind of a weaker slate of games than, what we've been used to. But first and foremost, before we react to any games, we kind of just I want to draw a little bit of attention to the Mel Tucker situation. Obviously, being a huge Michigan State fan, if you follow me on Twitter, if you know who I am, I'm a huge Michigan State fan. And it just sucks to see what happened, whether that, you believe he did it or not. It's still a real situation. It's still a real and thorough investigation. And Michigan State's, higher ups did the right thing, suspending him. Obviously, he's not fired yet, but it's assuming that all of this is, real. He won't
Yeah.
be the coach for Michigan State anymore. So, kind of give me your thoughts. I don't know. I don't really know how to go about this. I guess
Yeah,
who do you think
it's just we gotta
it's
talk.
a
You gotta
it's just
give
a weird situation. We're not
it
going to
is.
specify the details for viewer purpose. I don't think everyone. I think if you know what's going on, you've probably seen it in headlines. You've probably
Yes.
read a little bit of it.
Yes.
I guess the route I want to go is who do you think is fit for the job going, whether
Ooh.
you think it's an in-house hire, which probably not unless you're going to rehire D'Antonio, but I don't know if he takes that job, or what coach do you think that realistically would be great for Michigan State next
Yeah,
season?
that's a good question. I don't think it's in height. I don't think it's an in program thing. I think Michigan State wants to rebrand this thing completely. And that's gonna be tough. Do I think the interim head coach, what is his name? Hank Hollerman? Is that his name?
I think it's his last name is Barnett. I'm pretty sure.
Or yes, you're right. Hank Hollerman. What am I talking? Hank, yes. I have heard great things. I've heard that this is a guy who has wanted to become the head coach for a long time, and he even said in a presser that this was not how he wanted to do it, but he's always wanted to be the coach of MSU. He just wanted to be a head coach in general. So if there's going to be anyone in house, probably going to be that guy. I don't think D'Antonio comes back. I think D'Antonio, this is just kind of that act of like Spartan for life type thing. He's not going to, he'll be there, he'll be coaching, but like this is not a
Forever
permanent.
thing.
But
Yeah.
to go on to your question, outside of MSU, I there's a name that's been tossed around that is it's kind of made me laugh, but at the same time, it's like it's kind of interesting. Ed O, Coach O.
Oh,
I've heard it tossed around. I don't like it, but at the same
I
time,
don't
it's
know if I don't know if I like that either, to be honest. I
I
just
don't
don't
either,
think
but I don't know why it's getting tossed around. Um, but to be realistic, I don't even know what coaches are really on the market. You could say that you could realistically say that an assistant coach is probably the most viable from a team like Alabama, from a team like Georgia, looking because let's just put it this way. If I don't have an exact name that I would throw into this program, but this is a top 20 program. This is a top 20 job right now. Like this is a school with an $80 million facility, a ton of alumni, has a good track record in college football. They're playing in the Big Ten. The Big Ten is an absolute powerhouse, especially, you know, going forward into 2024. I don't think this is a job that anyone wants to shy away from. Now, yes, is there the problem that we just had? Sure, but that happens all over the country. It's happened. That's Northwestern right now, but it doesn't mean people are gonna roll away from the job and just be like, I don't want this. This isn't a culture problem. This isn't player problem. This is one guy made a stupid mistake. So I think that a lot of big names are gonna go after this.
Yeah, obviously I heard the Nick Saban retirement home one, but realistically,
One.
I think that if they could get, well, what's Kansas's head coach's name?
Ooh, that's actually
Yeah,
that's a good point. Took your
I think Campbell from Iowa State. I mean, he's maximized the crap out of Iowa State in the recent history. I mean, look what he did with Brock Purdy and Brees Hall. They were fairly competitive
absolutely,
in the Big 12. I think Mike Elko would be someone that they're going to definitely shout out. I've heard the Tom Hermans. I've heard the Jason Candles. Like I've heard,
yeah,
and I think honestly, out of all the best hires, I think Mark Stoops would definitely be like my favorite if they were able to get him because I mean he's maximized the crap out of Kentucky for the past
absolutely.
couple of years too. So
Matt
it's just,
Campbell's an interesting one though, because he almost that was the guy that everyone wanted for Michigan to hire. That was like, oh, if Jim Harbaugh is gone, like go get Matt Campbell. Was that, am I correct on that? Was
pretty
that
sure you
was
are.
his name was getting thrown around somewhere in this vicinity. Um, but yeah, dude, that would be those are all interesting names. Tom Herman
I think I
stepped
mean
out. And that was
one that I've heard of that I'm like could be really good, but it could also backfire really bad if it doesn't start out good is Sean Lewis, the offensive coordinator from Colorado.
yep.
So I
Yeah,
thought
because his name has been he came from
Kent State
yes.
and
They
he maxed the crap out of Kent State. Like they're
absolutely.
awful.
He put up his name really got, in the spotlight when they played Georgia, and it was just like, wow, this guy's really good. And now look at what he's doing. He's a guy that's definitely, no matter what, if he's not going to MSU, he's probably a one and done at Colorado. I don't see him. He's
Yeah, he's too good to be just an offensive coordinator at a school.
absolutely this guy's a football mind, but like you said, it could go really good or it could go really bad. These assistants, some of them are great head coaches, and some of them are truly just meant to be, you know,
Assistant coaches, yeah.
exactly. I don't know. It's interesting. I To comment a little more on just the whole situation though, and what I think is going to happen. I don't necessarily. I mean, there's obvious evidence with Mel Tucker saying that he did what he did, consensual or non-consensual, whatever. We don't know that part. However, I think therefore him just saying it and him being married, like MSU is almost kind of like we're gonna give him this is a guy that was the big image for our program. We're not just gonna fire him. They're gonna give him the respect he deserves. Maybe let this thing cool down a little bit and then we'll let him go. Because I just don't see a world where this man can be trusted leading young men. I mean, you gotta remember there's parents all over the country who are trusting him to change their kid. You walk in as a freshman, you're at the most immature point of your life, and you want a coach that's going to change you as an individual. It's going to bring your son's going to come home 4 years later, and whether he's in the NFL or not, he's going to be a better man. That's what you hope, and that's what you trust, and that's where you send. That's what a parent's job is just to make sure that they're getting that their
Yeah,
kid
the
is getting
best
that. And Mel Tucker's
opportunity for their kid. And I mean, I bet a lot of parents, and I mean, even some of the players are, frustrated about the situation. I think Michigan State's done an okay job handling it. I think D'Antonio
yeah,
coming back, like a lot of those players were recruited by
yes,
D'Antonio to come in that are still there.
absolutely.
So
That's
there's that for you. But I mean,
exactly.
it's a really weird situation. It's kind of something that like that was the last thing I would expect. I got like the notification at like 12 o'clock in the morning before I'm going to bed, and I'm like, what is going on? And then I read about it kind of in the morning, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah,
Like
sweet. Like
it's just
it's
it's so
it's
disappointing because honestly, like the trajectory of where MSU is going now, do either one of us think they're going to beat Washington? Probably not. But it was going to be a lot better ball game than I think. Not that they've lost any guys. Like that's the greatest part I think that's come out of this. And I mean, I'm not an MSU
no
fan.
one's quit yet from what I've
Exactly.
seen.
And
So
I'm not an MSU fan. However, I just don't like to see that for a program because it sucks. It sucks to watch because at that point you're just watching something that should not have happened happen. And now it puts them at a complete competitive disadvantage. It makes the coaches' jobs and days just that much longer, having to try and refigure everything out. It's kind of like the Jets situation right now. It's like an entire
yeah,
season of game planning, and now it's down the drain. Like you are
now
not
you got to come up with something different right on the
exactly.
spot.
you feel for everybody in that building, man. It's tough. I don't like to see it. As much as I'm a Michigan fan, I hate seeing this stuff for any, whether it's a rival or not. It just sucks to see. Not good for the sport.
Yeah, let's move on to the actual football conversation now. What was played on Saturday? Going to start off with this Texas Alabama game. I think this is the game that really just like solidified Quinn Ewers as one of those top quarterbacks in the country. Like his name has always been thrown around in that conversation. And like honestly, he hasn't really performed to that high of a level till this game last year until he got hurt. And I think that, like, I mean, we all knew the potential was there, right? I mean, he was a perfect rated quarterback according to 24/7. Like, no, a lot of people believed in this kid. And I think also this Texas defense really showed out as well. Like, obviously Milrow, not the best quarterback. He's not going to be good from a consistent down to down basis. And what this Texas defense did was put Alabama in tough down and distance. Like I said, if Texas was going to win this game, that's what they needed to do. And that's exactly what they did.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what they did defensively. And then offensively, I mean, this offense is just loaded. And I mean, there's nothing other than that. Xavier Worthy would have had way more touchdowns if he had hands. So,
Absolutely. Dude,
but no,
we talked about this coming up into this game in our preview that, I mean, Texas's difference is there's a lot of differences, but the biggest one is this defense. We finally see a Texas team with a real defense, and we're like, okay, like this. I mean, you see it against Rice, but you're like, oh, that's Rice, and now it's like, okay, that's Bama. Whether
but
you want
shout out to Rice for beating Houston over the weekend too.
right, yes, shout out, yeah, exactly. Shout out to JT Daniels for
JT
bouncing back,
Daniels, the
bouncing
best
back,
quarterback bust to ever exist in college
ever
football.
exists. That away, yep. But yeah, dude, I mean, I think the biggest thing that jumped off the page for me as well, is obviously the play of viewers, but how about the maturity of the kid? Never got too high, never got too low. There's a lot of opportunities. I mean, he was leading most of this game, but there was definitely some moments in that game where it's like, okay, yeah, you could see where an emotional high or low could have really affected him. And then after the game, this kid had, I mean, this reporter absolutely tossed it up to him for him to, pull the Sam Ehlinger and say that Texas is back. And he gave the most mature response. I believe the response was that our goal was to be 1-0 every week, that there's still more to prove, that they haven't done anything yet. And there was so much talk. The big narrative about Quinn Ewers in the offseason was he shaved the mullet and that he was mature and he was going to grow up and take on this role and run with it. That's what Sarkisian kept preaching, that's what he wanted him to do. And then we got later on in the offseason that is what he was doing. This was the proof. No, it's so hard for a kid, especially at his age. Remember, he's only like I think he's only 19.
Yeah, because he reclassed. Yeah, he reclassed, went to Ohio State, got his Ford F-150 NIL, and then he transferred to Texas. And then I mean last year, obviously he showed glimpses and like was pretty good, but like at certain points, but he also struggled when he came back from his injury. And then, I mean, all off season, it's talking about like there was legit questioning, like, is Arch Manning going to be able to start over Quinn Ewers his
All right.
freshman
I mean,
year?
even
Yeah,
people were saying
I
maybe
thought people were crazy for that. I'm like, I don't think Arch necessarily really I don't think he's the best quarterback right now in that class. I think he's the best, maybe potential wise, but like he's got all the tools. But like, I mean, you could say a lot of guys are better than him right now, and I mean,
it's I the kid's 20 years old, man, and he walked into Alabama. I mean, that's the other part is he did this in Bryant-Denny Stadium. That is something that a lot of guys
unheard
don't
of.
do. The last kid to do it was Joe Burrow. Those two are the only two I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
it's
in
like
the last
every
decade
single
have done
team,
it.
every single team that has beat Alabama at home in the non-con regular season, or maybe it wasn't even non-conference, maybe it's just in the regular season. They either like end up becoming national champions or Heisman winners, or you're Hugh Freeze. It's literally it.
Literally, exactly, exactly. it's a big accomplishment. It says a lot. Beating Nick Saban, I don't care how much talent's on the field, is not the easiest challenge. But
Not
to,
not at
to
all.
yeah, to move on to our next team, our next team that we are enjoyed talking about thus far through 2 weeks of football, Ole Miss Tulane. Both teams we have loved to talk about. Ole Miss being that team that we're kind of thinking is going to sneak under the radar in the SEC, and then Tulane, arguably the best power or the best group of 5 team in the country. They kind of showed that. I thought this was going to be an upset. I'm not going to lie to you.
The way this game shaped out to be, like, I thought Tulane was like, I mean, they obviously got their lead, and then, everything kind of like fumbled away. I think Ole Miss just, they didn't play a complete game. And I think it really was a struggle with the running game not being able to
I
get
was just
going.
going to say that.
Yeah.
Kushan Jenkins has only 108 yards on 31 carries this
Which
year.
is like
We did
not
not
good.
expect that. We
Yeah.
didn't.
I
We
mean, I
thought
think
fully that was the image of this team.
right. And I mean, it's only proved that like Jackson Dart's just like one of the, like, I'm pretty sure has the highest passer efficiency in the SEC. I
Yes,
mean, he's been really good. Like, if you look at the throws that he's making, I know he threw an interception in this game, which it wasn't great, but like, other than that, like, I mean, he's been able to like make big plays and make big passes too. And I mean, Trey Harris wasn't in this game the whole entire time either, but Dayton Wade and Jordan Watkins were very huge for this Ole
mm,
Miss team. They combined for 13 receptions. Like, that's
yeah.
just something absurd. And I mean, they're missing Zachary Franklin, they're missing Trey Harris, like they're missing a couple guys. They're missing
Yeah, the
Pierre.
team isn't at full firepower, and they're still performing well.
Yeah, I mean,
Tulane did a great
obviously
win.
Tulane obviously didn't have Michael Pratt, but I mean, Kai Horton, I don't think is a bad quarterback. I don't think there's too much more that Pratt could have done personally in that game
Absolutely not.
that Kai Horton could have done. Shout out to Quan Jackson. That kid was insane to watch the whole entire game.
Wasn't he? It was truly a special
Like,
performance.
that kid might be like a day 2, day 3 like NFL receiver. Like the
Oh, I
deep
can see it.
yeah, like that's
It's
what's cool when you watch like about these like big programs, like, compete with like a group of 5 team competing with a like Power 5 powerhouse.
yeah,
Like,
I
you
it,
see
it
you see the best kids from those teams shine out, and you're like, okay, maybe that kid's like, got a future.
right. It's why
And
they
like,
play these games. Everyone likes to nag on the Michigans of the world. Even a lot of the SEC teams who play these just kind of garbage teams, but like these are those teams' opportunities to show their weapons. I mean, if there's one goal as a coach at a small school, it's to try to get that one or two guys, into they're not going to be day one. We're not going to get a lot of day one picks out of group of 5
right.
teams.
Like, I mean, typically it's like a higher profile recruit or a high profile
Right.
transfer.
Right.
Nowadays, transferring to a lower level and like still putting up like pretty good.
Gaudy numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's really easy if you're the quarterback. I mean, look at kids like Trey Lance, like,
Right.
completely like it. I mean, it's just tough, but like, I feel like a lot of kids that end up like producing, like end up becoming like guys that like NFL teams are going to take in later rounds. Cause like
Right. It's
there's still potential there.
exactly. It's the potential thing, and that's why these teams play those games. It's good for those programs. I mean, you would argue that it's not fun to watch, but everything serves a purpose here in college football, and I love it. I love watching those games for more of the reason that you find these under the radar superstars.
Right. Moving on. Any other thoughts on Ole Miss Tulane?
No, I mean I was getting excited. We were talking about the upset. Both of us now have one upset picked in 2 weeks, which
Yeah, I
is kind of
mean,
hype.
I mean, 50% on picks on teams being unfavored, which, I mean, I don't know. I was scheming for like, oh, what's gonna be my week 3 upset of the week? I'm just like, geez, I don't know. I don't know.
This week's a tough one. If we pick one this week, that'd be kind of impressive.
Yeah, this is a very bad week because
It's called a dud week. You can't have,
uh,
especially leading up to week 4.
yeah,
You
week 4 is a crazy slate of games, but you know what? There's probably gonna be some big upset that we're gonna talk about next
absolutely,
Tuesday that we may
absolutely.
or may not predict. But yeah, let's get into this Miami Texas A&M game. I'll first out. and come and say it. Like Tyler Van Dyke's back. Like he is in his
Oh, he's
2020.
back.
He's in his 2021 form. Like one thing that really impressed me is like there was a lot of questions coming into this season about the receiving room. And I think there's three guys now, obviously in Restrepo, George, and Young. Those guys are legit. Like Texas A&M's, I mean, I don't think they're coached necessarily to the best on the defensive side, but also I just think Miami's kids are really talented and we're able to, compete.
Explosive is the
Yeah.
word I would use.
Yeah.
Just pure explosion.
I mean, yeah. And I mean, they also got a kick return for a touchdown in this game too.
That was hype.
Like
That was hype.
this is and like Miami really didn't use their ground game either. Like Henry Parrish had a couple of runs, but like
I mean, he had 10 carries, but yeah, it wasn't to the point where, and I think this team actually can run the football very well. Like, I don't think,
they didn't need to though, is the thing.
no,
I think Texas A&M, so like their front seven's like pretty solid, especially like their defensive lines pretty
absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I just think these DBs on Texas A&M weren't coached very well. I think Wegman played an okay game. Like he was a big part of the reason why like this Texas A&M team was in it to begin with and had a lead in the first place.
Absolutely. And Evan Stewart, you just got to continue to give this guy credit. This is a guy I think that is probably going to transfer. I don't see him playing because I think he's only a sophomore, so he's got one more year before he goes. I don't see him staying at A&M. I
He
don't see a
was the
lot of these
top. Was
guys.
he the top receiver in his class? I believe
Yes,
he
yes.
was.
This
Yeah.
was this was that first 5-star to that one class that Texas A&M got that everybody thought was going to put him back on the map, But obviously, that's not.
I don't even think it's a talent problem at this point. I think
No,
there's just
it's a coaching problem.
yeah, it's a coaching problem with Jimbo, which I mean the school they paid him all that money and that I mean going back a little bit to what we introduced the show with, I mean Mel Tucker, the only reason why I feel like they haven't fired him yet is because
Exactly.
they're
He was
not
an
trying to
image, and
yeah,
he
well
paid a lot of money.
yeah, and not just that, they're just also not trying to give him $70 million. I
Yeah,
don't know what Jimbo's buyout at this point would be if you fired him.
a lot. I don't
Yeah.
even.
I
I
think
don't know, but at this point, it's like it's an
it's
investment, man. I'm telling you.
yeah.
It,
I mean, unless Texas A&M's like being happy, being like a middle of the pack like SEC team, which I mean, at the level that they recruit, they shouldn't be. But
no, this team is a bigger ceiling than that, and their 2-star players on offense have those ceilings as well. But yeah, back to just Miami in general. I think the ACC, man, it's gonna be crazy. This is gonna be a crazy finish. I think.
ACC is looking a lot better than I thought going into the season.
Honestly, the ACC race might be more fun. The ACC and Pac-12 race might be more fun than this SEC race because I don't think there is a
And even the
race.
Big Ten race, to be honest, or
Oh, absolutely.
at least the Big Ten East race.
Right.
Yeah, of course. I don't know who's going to come out of the West now, as we'll get into that in this next
Yeah,
game.
right.
But
But yeah, no, this receiving core is nasty, bro. If you have 3 receivers who are competing to put up 100 yards a game in the same game, and Dyke is thrown for 370, 5 touchdowns. I mean, that says it alone.
12.5
And you have
yards
the
per
help of your
attempt.
freaking
Yeah.
special teams, like that kid who returned that punt.
I
Is
think
that
it's last.
Rashard Smith?
Yeah.
Dude, that kid has he's got a
That
different
like that kid
he's got
has
a
some
different kid.
juice, dude. Like that's like 4.4 4.3 speed right there.
Oh, easily, man. I saw he fired out like a out of a
Yeah.
cannon, dude. It was like
I mean, it
holy
ain't Zachariah Branch, but
no, but
it's
no, but I don't know if you saw that stat. Zachariah Branch, he recorded on his punt return, I think a speed of 22 and a half miles an hour. That
I
was
think
the fastest of any football player that played all weekend, including Tyreek Hill, who was at 21.2. So that just puts into perspective, ladies and gentlemen, Zachariah Branch has the juice.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I haven't seen a returner with that much juice in college since like D'Anthony Thomas, Tavon Austin. Like,
Right. Oh yeah, easily. 100%.
I mean, I don't think there's been a player with that much juice, like just in terms of like big
No,
playability since Saquon. Like, I think that's not crazy to say.
that's not crazy to say at all. No. That's actually a great comparison.
So, I mean, obviously two different skilled positions, but like
But
an open field
just
purposes, like
yeah,
both
literally a
those
guy
kids.
who has a seam, it's like it's unbelievable to watch. It's must-watch television.
Uh,
Wisconsin,
Washington
Washington
State.
State.
So,
Cam Ward for
I,
Heisman?
nah, I don't think they're gonna compete in the Pac-12 and I think they're gonna, push around some teams. And one thing I will say is this secondary like absolutely impressed me a lot. Like I like they
Washington State secondary?
Yeah, Washington
Yeah,
State
yeah.
secondary. I mean, literally, like they could not have like played much better. They forced Wisconsin to throw it on them a lot, and I mean, they were making sure that this run game didn't get going. I mean,
And
there was nothing else to that, and then I mean, I obviously it shows that like Mordecai isn't like that honestly that great of a quarterback.
nope.
Like in my opinion, I think
Oh,
that he underperformed. I mean, Ward, he might not look the best statistically, like in terms of like passing yards, and I mean only like 2.5 yards per rush, but like this kid led them to this victory. And like I think the,
absolutely.
I think the offensive play calling was great from Washington State. They just kept like they made Wisconsin like just always like second guess their decisions almost. Like
It was a
I,
defensive. It was honestly a defensive masterpiece.
yeah,
Just
like
in
they
in terms of coaching.
Yeah, I mean this Washington team or Washington State teams like I mean, I guess Washington too, but no, but this Washington State team likes typically like a great like offensive team that's going to put up 40 and 50 and like honestly, if they were to win this game, I thought this was going to go into a shootout, but I think
Yeah,
they really cleaned it up defensively and I mean, I think this victory only shows how great this Pac-12 conference is.
it's so we talk about it every single week, and another team continues to show up. Just how deep this this conference is. I mean, this is going to be the most fun conference race ever. I can't go back and think of a time when a conference was this deep. I mean, there's so
It's
many teams. I'm not saying that Washington State is a team that, very well could win this, but it's just going to disrupt the top teams. It's going to disrupt the I don't even know who I'd say that they could.
Like they could disrupt Oregon State. They could
Yes,
probably
I think they could
disrupt.
disrupt Oregon.
Yeah, I was gonna say they could probably disrupt Oregon. I think they could honestly disrupt Utah like
Yes,
easily.
UCLA would be another problem. Just having a young buck back there, who, by the way, that kid is continuously
Yeah,
performing better and better every week. Shout out to a Detroit high school kid right in
yep.
our backyard, but
Dante Moore.
Dante Moore, he's a dog. But yeah, man, it's. But then again, you made the first team you commented on was Oregon State, and I think that's a team that could mess around and win this thing. Like,
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I think if there's any dark horse in that conference, it's Oregon State.
Colorado.
I don't even think they're a dark horse anymore. I think it's
Colorado. That's
in
just my.
some ways it's
That's
Colorado's conference to lose. As
no. It
crazy as that
is
sounds.
USC and Washington's conference to lose, but
And
in
then
my
what the crazier part is though is they didn't even win it last year. This
yeah,
team didn't even win it.
yeah, it was Utah. I think Utah though has got a lot of problems right now.
Yeah, I think
That
Bryson Barnes got brought back to reality.
Yeah, I mean, you go into this, or I mean, the game was at home against Florida, and then I don't think he was really comfortable playing in a road environment, even if it is in Waco. Like this team got lucky that they won, to be honest, or at least that it didn't go to
Luck.
overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
If
definitely has some
Lyndon
things.
Jackson didn't exist, I mean, it's over.
I don't know. Cam Rising definitely needs to be at the helm, or they need to figure some things out, to say the least. I
Yeah,
think
I
I
don't
think
even know
Rising
when. Do you know when he's projected to come back?
probably I don't know.
Four, maybe.
I don't know. Whittingham likes to just like like BS a little bit. So
And he'll tell you he won't tell you Rising's playing until
yeah,
10 minutes before the game.
yeah. I mean they play Weber State next week, so like I doubt that like
Yeah, that is very true. He Rising very well could be ready, and at this point they're just saving him for the game when they need him, which in my opinion is kind of dumb because game reps are game reps and
yeah.
nothing's gonna replicate practice.
I
Or
think I think what they should do
replicate
against this Weber State team, if he is 100% ready to go, let him throw it around for a half or so, get
yeah,
the team up. And I mean, you still need to build up guys like Barnes and Nate Johnson. Like
absolutely,
they're
because they are
still
your future.
Yeah, like so
100%.
there's always that aspect, but I mean Baylor did not look good in week one. Maybe Texas State is just a really good team, and like there's always that possibility. Which I
There's
mean,
always that.
I mean they
There's
had for
always
I don't
that.
know teams with the big transfer haul. They've looked good.
Transfer portal's the new
The new high
wave.
school. And, yeah,
I talk about that all the time in my we talk about that all the time with guys that are these high school superstars, like that they're just gonna bounce and go to these massive programs. And it's like, yeah, why wouldn't they? Like at this point, it's like it happens in college, so why not do it there? Like it's open. There is such thing as a high school transfer portal essentially.
if you're
So
yeah, if you're
mommy
one
and
of
daddy
the
making an excuse.
yeah.
Anyways, Notre Dame, NC State.
Yeah, I mean,
Notre Dame continues.
yeah, I mean
Oh,
Notre
this is fun.
Dame.
This
It's
is
not
fun.
crazy to say that, like they're I think they're damn near a top five team in the country right now. Like,
Yeah. I'm trying to think who is rated 5. Is it Washington 5 right now?
yeah, I think so. Let me pull up the
This team
rank.
is just so complete. I I have no other words besides that. This is the most complete Notre Dame team I've seen in a long time. Estime is what is this kid averaging a carry? Like I would love to know what he's averaging a carry throughout this. It's got to be
I
upwards of
can
6
pull up
yards.
let me pull up the stats real quick.
No, my computer likes to just not work sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do it off my
But
phone.
even then, Hartman threw for 4 tutties, almost 300 yards. Estimate ran for freaking 130. Bolden Stays is a dog. That whole receiving core is just out of this world. Tyree's been having himself a season. Like,
Gray House.
yeah, all of them.
Like, yeah,
It's just
estimate is averaging 8 yards a carry on 345 yards. That's actually insane. And
that
like,
is
I mean, granted, they didn't play anyone their first really 2 weeks, but like, I mean, their best opponent they played, he averaged 9.6 yards and had two tutties. Like, there's nothing else to that. That like,
he's
he
the
is
perfect
definitely
compliment.
like he might be the best running back in the country. Oh, okay, let's not get that
No, and it's what this is
good.
something crazy to think about, but I mean, this is what the transfer portal does. Dylan Edwards was fully supposed to be on this team. He was
Right.
supposed to be Estimate's compliment, to be honest with you. And it's like to think about that possibility is ridiculous. Just another weapon this offense could have had. And they
Right.
obviously
And like the
used.
Price kid's pretty good too. Like,
Absolutely. Jadarian's really good. This
okay, maybe they're not top five now that I look at this AP top 25, but like they're right there. They're better than Ohio State. I'm
it's a
confident.
the top 10 is so subjective. It can you can flip around so many of these teams because there's an argument that a lot of people want to make, and it's like, oh well, why does Michigan deserve that spot? Because they haven't done anything, they haven't beaten anyone to prove that,
My counter argument to that is like, what have they done wrong?
right, exactly, and that's what I
Like,
say.
yeah,
It's also history. It's like,
yeah.
okay, we can't not. This team has shown that they're going to be in the playoff. They're going to compete for the playoff every year. They've done it twice in a row. They've
Right. And I mean,
conference.
even like with Alabama at 10, I'm like, you're going to put Tennessee above them? Probably not. Tennessee doesn't look very good. You're going to put Utah above them? Probably not. Utah doesn't look very good either.
It's
Oregon? Probably not. LSU? I think
no.
they I don't know. They both lost to top teams. Kansas State? Maybe. Put
It's
Oregon State. Like that's the thing.
it can
Like,
change, man.
yeah,
It's
and I think
such a
Alabama also just like, they're gonna they need it's only 2 games. Like I think you can give Bama the benefit of a doubt. And I mean
absolutely.
if not like it's supposed to put it where teams are now, not necessarily predicting where they're going to be. I don't think people realize that like the AP top 25 is just using their judgment on what they see, or maybe what they don't see, what they see with their eyes in the box score.
Yep,
But
it's true.
like, I mean, I don't just like other than maybe Ohio State, like where they're at. I think Penn State, Washington, and Notre Dame are better. Like I don't disagree with this top 10 to be honest.
No, I think that's my only problem too is where Ohio State is. I think
I mean, Ohio State,
Everyone
at least like
had this
Marvin
breath of
Harrison.
fresh air, like, oh my gosh, they're back. It's an FCS opponent. It's Youngstown
I
State.
will say though, it's nice to see that Marvin Harrison Jr. like came out,
Absolutely.
got out of bed and like actually like wanted to come and perform. But I don't know. I think Ohio State, like, I think it's just McCord's a little bit of a different style of quarterback. He isn't a big time player. He's not like,
And we're seeing that that's a problem when we're not sticking to play styles. Jalen Milroe is very different than the play style of quarterbacks that Alabama's had. I'd say in the past three quarterbacks.
right. Yeah.
Same with Kyle McCord. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't call it actually a problem. I would say more of it's going to take time for the coaching staff and just the rest of the offense around them to adjust. Because you recruit guys to, play with these quarterbacks. Like they fully recruited Harrison and Abuka and even the guys prior, Garrett Wilson, all them to play with guys like Stroud, play with guys like Fields. And McCord doesn't have that arm talent. McCord doesn't have that, escapability to, get outside of the pocket, extend plays, or even the accuracy that some of these guys demand. They're going to run good routes, but they're going to play good defenses. So you got to have a guy who can hit
But
those windows.
my honest opinion is Devin Brown should be starting, and I think if he would have played this spring, like, I mean, watch Devin Brown's high school tape.
I
Like
was just going to say that.
yeah, he actually has like insane zip on the ball, and like he's able to lead the ball down the field extremely well. I
Yes.
mean, granted, he played what he came from Utah, so like I don't know how good Utah high school football is, but it doesn't like you can't teach talent. Like you can't teach arm talent. And
No,
I mean,
Devin Brown as a kid too. I forget where he was committed before he committed to Ohio State. There was another team, but this is a kid who bet on himself. He exudes confidence. Devin Brown is a kid that walks around like his stuff don't stink, and that's kind of what you have to have when you playing for an organization like Ohio State. And I agree. I think I hate to make this comparison, but it's kind of true. This is the JJ Decade thing. I think Devin Brown just has more upside and gives you more opportunities to win a game. There's
I
more.
just think he's the better quarterback. Like, I mean, they did
Yeah.
not in that Indiana game. They didn't really allow him to have a shot to like even compete, even though they said,
No, and that's the
eh,
problem that's the problem I have right now with Ryan Day is it's just like it doesn't seem like he's living up to his word in any aspects.
right,
He
yeah,
said
and I
that
mean,
these guys fully deserve to play, yet you let McCord struggle it out. Like, no, if you don't have a guy who you really think is the starter, because he
and
keeps
you're gonna
saying,
call, and you're like even in that Indiana game, you're gonna call two handoffs, and then a quarterback run that like Indiana's expecting when you put Brown into the game. Like if you would have let Brown like throw at least like a short to intermediate pass, maybe get things going. Like maybe the trajectory of that game goes differently. That's
I
personally what I
agree.
believe. But
I agree. But we're not the coaches. We're not on the sidelines. They pay those guys big money to do that, and whatever.
I mean, it's their
We're still
coaching
gonna put out our
philosophy.
opinions, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I mean, like even to get into this like top 10, like I mean, I agree every like sort of way with these rankings. Like I believe Georgia should be number one. They've proven every reason not to not be number one. They don't have like the game like against Kent
They're
State
number
last
one
year.
until they lose.
Yeah, which I don't think they will do until the SEC championship. Just looking at their schedule.
And when they
Eh,
lose to Ole Miss. Yeah.
Yeah. At two, I got Michigan. Like, I mean, you could argue that like Florida State and Texas like could also be there as well, but like Michigan, they've been a top four team the past two
Yeah.
seasons.
I mean,
Like,
and this is a team that's playing their starters for one half of football the past two
right.
weeks.
Yeah.
They've
And
they've dominated those halves. So it's like, okay, you did what you did.
yeah. And I mean
Michigan's taking a
that's
different approach.
yeah, Michigan's definitely using they're just I mean, they're trying to prevent injuries because like if you remember last year, Corum got hurt and like that's a big part of their offense that's gone. So I think
Right.
they're
And
just
it's like you wonder, did the 35 carries against UConn have some wear and tear in that knee?
right. Yeah.
Possibly, but they're not going to take that chance again. And it's these coaching changes. They're treating it like preseason, man. It's if you
Yeah, I
have that,
mean UCLA
why
is
not?
doing like the exact same thing. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Why not? If you have the opportunity, do it.
right. Uh I mean, we kind of got sidetracked from the Notre Dame NC State game, but I mean,
There's not much to say,
yeah,
other
like
than the fact that
I
Notre
think
Dame
we
was
we
here.
we talk about Notre Dame every year and how good they are, and like once they actually start playing the
Right.
higher caliber opponents, like they're gonna be able to prove it. I think they can. I think they could win all 4 of those big games. I think they could lose all 4 of them.
I'm just excited because, and this is something we've talked about every single week. Notre Dame is doing something Notre Dame hasn't ever done in at least recent memory, and that is they blow out opponents. They blow them out. This isn't, oh man, they won that game by, a touchdown and a field goal. No, no, no. 2 scores, 3 scores every week, big numbers, big stats. It
It's a
makes me
fun
so
team.
excited because to see Ohio State go down to a team like Notre Dame with just, I think it would fulfill so many Big Ten fans' just biggest fantasies, and that is just to watch OSU miserably crumble to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see this team in the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
I think this is the team. If like, I mean, that team a couple years ago, like, I mean, they won it. I mean, it was COVID, so take it for what it's worth. But like,
Yeah,
I think that like they deserve. This is probably the best team Notre Dame's had since like the Manti Te'o days. So
absolutely. I just had this thought, and I won't go sidetracked any more than this, but can we just talk about the fact that okay, we're in week 3, and I'm gonna put this out there and say this these 4 teams at the end of this season that make this college football playoff, like those will be the best 4 teams in college football.
yeah, I
This is
think
going to be the hardest college football playoff to get into ever, and it makes me a little angry that this isn't the year that it's the bigger playoff, because this is a year where it's like,
the
man,
12-team playoff would be like really good, and I think
unbelievable. It's a year that you could see a 12 seed, you could see 11 seed, a 10 seed win that whole thing. This would be a year that's really going to that would really determine, like, okay, this is the best team in college football. I don't know, man. It's going to be either way, even though it's 4, like the best team is going to come out of this. You could argue,
yeah.
unless we see the conference championships, one of them end on a
And that's
absolute
kind of like my
crazy.
thing. I think like the Pac-12, like they could just end up beating up on each other, but I still think whoever wins that conference gets a bid. It
Yeah.
might be a 2-bid league this year. Like I don't think that's like insane to say. We'll see how
I think the
Washington
Pac-12 is very, very easily could be
like
a two bid.
if there is a 2-bid league this year, it's the Pac-12.
Yeah, 100%. Unless, I don't
I mean,
know.
it could be
It's
the
so
Big
much.
Ten. It could be the Big Ten. It could be
Right.
the
It's
AC.
like you could take 2 teams. I could take right now. I mean, I get it. It's week 3. It's so early, but like I could pick 2 teams from just about every conference that deserve to be 2 bids in the college football playoff. Like you could argue that right now it's Michigan, Penn State for the Big Ten. It's the ACC's Florida State, and that's one where I have a hard time. And
Yeah, I think it's Florida State and the rest of the pack for the ACC, but
right,
I don't know. Maybe if North Carolina looked a little bit better against Appalachian State, which we're not going to talk
they
about
do it again.
specifically, but
All you have to say is they did it again. This team continues. They wreak havoc, man. They ruin people's careers.
yeah.
But yeah, to get into the speaking of the Big Ten, they almost, shocked the world. We thought for a second, in that first half, Nebraska was gonna silence the entire college football media, but that did not happen.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing, and like, I shout out to Joel Klatt because when I heard this, I was like, oh, that actually sounds like I really like that take. So
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, they didn't play their best game, and they still beat a decent team without playing their best game by what, 3 possessions?
3
Like
possessions, yep.
that's that's something to actually be like concerned about if you're the rest of the Pac-12. Like we thought this team, like obviously, like no one expected this team other than Dion and everyone in that locker room and maybe on that
Yeah,
campus. Like we never
right.
expected this team to like be this good. Like we thought
No.
like, yeah, maybe they could sneak in an upset here. Maybe they can make a bowl
Exactly.
game. Like we thought they were just like
Exactly.
a cute little fun team, but like they're a legit dog. Like this ain't no Chihuahua. This is a pit bull, dude. Like
Yes, sir. That's all
this
to
is
say.
that is I mean, this team's deep offensively, and
So
I think defensively, like obviously Sims and that whole offense obviously need a little bit of
yes.
retooling on the
The
schematic side,
defensive
but
line just in general was unbelievable.
yeah,
Like
and
the turnaround.
I think just TCU was also just like a decent offensive team, and like they were
Right.
also on the road, and it was the first game, and like a lot of defenses don't perform up to
No.
what their end of season form the first week. So, but like this team, it's gonna compete. Like, I mean, like I said, Pac-12, like they'll probably hardest ever the Pac-12 will ever be in the
Yeah. The winner of the Pac-12, man, you could argue is
like this is the way to
they
go
lost
out
the
if you're the
national
Pac-12.
championship.
Obviously, they play Colorado State next week. I think they'll be able to handle them just fine. I don't think it's a trap game.
No.
That some people are. But I mean, you got Oregon, USC, Arizona State, Stanford, UCLA, Oregon State, Arizona, Washington State,
Yeah.
Utah. I don't think
Dude,
there's honestly like I think Stanford's the only game I can like confidently say like they'll dominate it. But other than that, like
no.
I think it's likely you beat Arizona State. I don't know about Arizona. Jaden Delora,
Dude, I was just
he's
about to say,
he's
what do you
nice.
think about that kid? You mean Arizona? Jaden Delore is the quarterback for Arizona.
Yeah, no, like I mean I watched some Jaden Delora stuff last year and
Yeah.
like I was like this kid, like if he plays if Arizona looks decent this year, man,
Dude, he looks phenomenal.
he can
It's just
Arizona
it's
could
just
have some.
another name that's getting buried too, though, because there's so many
Yeah,
Pac-12
like
quarterbacks.
yeah, like I
I
mean,
can't say it enough.
what? Shador, Caleb, Bo, Michael,
DJ,
DJ, Cam Ward, Cam
Cam Ward,
Rising.
Cam Rising,
I mean,
Laura. I
yeah,
mean, you could argue
Delora,
Rashada.
Rashada, even like Ben Finley's not terrible either. Like
No,
that's the thing. There's so many kids in this league that like
right. And Dante, like you
yeah,
can even throw
like
that name out. It's like what?
yeah,
I'd love to
this
know
is
like the statistic after this whole thing is done, after every single kid's draft year has passed, how many of them are on NFL rosters? Not necessarily starting, but
just
just
on the
on
NFL.
NFL rosters.
Yeah.
That it's gonna be quite the number, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and I mean like to kind of like get into it, like how much quarterbacks in the Pac-12? I think this is a really good question. How much quarterbacks in the Pac-12 are better than the best quarterback in the SEC, which I think
Wow. We
agreeably,
could do a whole segment on that,
yeah,
Noah. I think we really could because there's an argument that the top three teams in the SEC, LSU, LSU, Alabama, and Georgia, that all three of their quarterbacks would not be in the top five of the SEC or the
I don't
Pac-12.
even think they'd be in like I think once you get to the Rashada Moore range, like
Yeah, like there you go. Like there's a
maybe Cam
that
Ward.
is a place of inexperience. Now Carson Beck and Jalen Milrow are victims of that as well. They have just about the same amount of
I don't know.
experience that
I
Rashada
think
and
that like
Moore
the
have.
best quarterback in the SEC, I think right now through two games is Jackson Dart.
Jackson Dart, absolutely.
And like, I mean, Jackson Dart's not better than Shador. It's
Nope,
not
he's
better than
not
Bo
better
Nix.
than Caleb Williams.
Not better than Caleb. Not better than Bo Nix. Not better than Penix.
No,
I mean, is he better than Cam Ward?
um, I think that's a very unfair judgment because it's like now you look at Cam Ward, you can look at the way he plays, and you're like, okay, give him the weapons that Jackson Dart has. Give
Right.
him the weapons that
Is he
like
better than
that's
Is he better than Rising? Is he better than who's the kid
he's
I'm forgetting?
won. Rising's won, and winning talks more than statistics, and that's why
Right.
Rising
Is he
went
better
on.
than DJ? Like probably not up to this point. Like
I don't
maybe
think he's better than DJ.
like that's the thing. Like it's a serious conversation that like the
A very
pack
big conversation
that
because you
like
could go into multiple conferences and do that. Multiple.
I
Big
mean,
Ten. JJ's the only kid that Drew Aller too. I have to give him respect. And you know who else I have to give respect? Because it's legit. Like he's now gone 2 weeks and it's been like, okay, this kid's putting up stats. Noah Kim. He's putting
yeah.
up stats with
I think you
nobody.
could say Hudson Card too. Like I think
Yeah, yes. But
he's a name to toss around
but
there.
Noah Kim is doing it with freshmen. Tyrell Henry and Antonio Gates are freshmen. And then their other big receiver is like non-experienced. Like these guys really aren't big names. And
Well,
Noah
yeah, like I
Kim,
mean the only really experienced receiver on the roster is Trey Mosley. And like
right? And
that's
that's not like a receiver that's like gonna go to the NFL or anything. Like he's
not
not,
at all.
and it's just like kind of impressive, man. I uh I don't know. The Big Ten definitely has sneaky quarterbacks, but once again, like the Pac-12, we're talking two kids, the two of the top quarterbacks, legit gonna be there in New York to finish this season out. Like, no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
I think like
Sanders and
I mean like the only other quarterbacks I could really ever like see going to New York this season, like outside of the Pac-12.
Travis, Jordan Travis.
Yeah, I think Quinn Ewers could get there too, to be honest.
Yeah, yes.
And like other than that, like I mean
McCarthy
maybe
would have to break every record at
yeah,
Michigan.
I think
He's a
McCarthy.
victim. He's a victim of the fact that, like, as much as they
Okay, I
don't
guess
look
you
good
could.
right
I
now,
mean, maybe Hartman. I don't think that's out of the.
that's definitely not out of the question because we
But
all know that
maybe,
the
maybe,
media loves
maybe,
Notre
maybe,
Dame.
maybe it's estimate. Like I don't know, but like it, like
That'd be
yeah.
sick.
I mean, there's really no other like because there ain't gonna be a. There's not gonna be an SEC quarterback, at least not right now. I think ACC, like I mean, Drake May has not played to the level that he's supposed to
Drake
play.
May is not even playing to the level of a first round quarterback right now.
Yeah.
Let's be for real right
I
now.
mean, maybe if like Duke goes 12-0, like maybe Riley Leonard
Oh,
goes to
if Duke goes 12-0, Riley Leonard's gonna be hoisting that thing.
yeah, he's gonna be better.
Gonna
He's gonna
be
get more glorified than any Duke basketball player on that campus
ever.
ever.
Like, the stadium's getting renamed Riley
Riley
Leonard
Leonard
Stadium.
Stadium. It's gonna be Riley Leonard Arena too.
Yeah, it's
Like
gonna be Riley Leonard
they're
University.
literally it's literally gonna be Riley Leonard, North Carolina. Like
Yeah, exactly. Dude, that guy would be a living legend, and
I
I'd be
think it.
so
I mean, I think
for
like
it.
this is all just like off like the high of like the games that just had, but I think like Miami or Tyler Van Dyke could be a kid that like is a finalist
Yeah,
in here.
absolutely. We're watching some of the unbelievable quarterback play spread out amongst college football right now. This is going to be, not that a lot of these guys are in the same graduating class, but these next two NFL drafts, man, are going to be some of the deepest quarterback drafts we've had in a long time.
Right, which is like crazy to say. I mean, I don't know, man. It's a tough world out there.
Right, because a lot of these kids, you watch a guy like this is another argument that could be made, but besides CJ and Bryce Young, who I actually don't even think are great NFL prospects, like, think about
I
if
I
you
think
plugged
I think
three
CJ.
Pac-12 quarterbacks into that draft class. Do they get drafted higher than them? Does Bryce Young go first overall? No. Caleb Williams goes
Yeah,
first
I
overall.
think Caleb goes first overall, but I mean, there's an argument for Stroud. I think Stroud was a good NFL prospect, and
Yes, I do too. But
I think
he struggled. The image about him, and honestly, the development thing is the fact that he wore the scarlet and gray. I mean, it's true. There hasn't been a good one yet. So, but I think he's
yeah,
gonna.
especially with how Fields performed in week
Oh,
one. But Jordan Love's also just like, Utah State, Logan, Utah, like best produces the bet. No, I'm just kidding. But
Utah State. I thought it was Nevada.
no, it was Utah State.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
You're right.
Yeah.
Who's the Nevada kid?
The
Had to
only
have been a Nevada.
good Nevada kid that I can remember in recent memory is Carson Strong, but I don't think he's even
You
on.
know what? I'm not even joking with you. I think that's actually who I'm thinking of, and I don't know why that name. What
Well,
I,
I mean, Jordan Love does throw to Romeo Dobbs, who is on Nevada as well.
no,
So,
it's not that. It was
eh,
Carson Strong. It was Carson Strong. Definitely not
gee.
Romeo. And the last game to get over that embarrassing brain fart. Texas Tech, Oregon.
Yeah, I mean,
Speaking of Bo Nix, my gosh.
I think Oregon, like, it's kind of like the same thing we could say about Colorado is I don't think Oregon played their best game, which I mean, I think Texas Tech and Tyler Shock, like they played good until about the last couple minutes
Tyler
I mean,
Shough
when
threw
it,
3 picks and he was in this game.
yeah, like I think that Oregon, like you're gonna need to do a lot more if you're gonna win the Pac-12, obviously, with this being the deepest
Absolutely.
conference.
Yep. For sure.
And I don't think they're there right now, to be honest with you. I think it's a I think it's a team with a lot of potential. And I mean, we saw what their offense is capable of against an SEC team, or sorry, not an SEC team. I mean, kind of
Right.
the opposite of an SEC team and FCS team. But I mean, they play Hawaii next week. I mean, they're gonna be able to light it up against them. There's no reason
Yeah.
why they're not going to. And then I think they have a good week 4 matchup. I believe it is.
Well, who doesn't have a good week 4 matchup? They got Colorado. They got a date
Yeah,
with Dion.
date with Dion. Is it in Boulder or is it at Watson?
It's at Autzen.
Okay.
That's his. Oh,
That's gonna be a big one. I
the
mean, there's
super
also
senior versus the freaking young gun.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
gonna
Bo
be,
Nix. I don't
dude.
know.
I uh I think an interesting note about this game is that Bo Nix was actually the leading rusher in the Texas Tech win. He ran for 46 yards. I think, and mind you, not great stats. Not great stats at
Well,
all.
he
However,
who
it's
was the
such
leading
a
rush.
underrated part of Bo Nix's game is that this
Yeah,
kid
I
can
don't
run.
think like I mean, and we even think about guys like I mean Drake May, he's pretty mobile. Jackson Dart, he's able to get mobile. Quinn
Yeah.
Ewers, like, and I mean, I'm not gonna say something live that maybe some people are thinking at home when we say some of these names, but like I don't think they like. I think they're such good passers and like they're so known for their passing that like people forget like they can
Yeah.
run the
Like
football.
Bo
I
Nix
think
is
you could say the same thing about like Cam Ward though. Like no one's ever talks about Cam Ward's mobility. Same with
right.
like same with DJ. Like
Dude,
DJ's are
DJ.
very yeah, DJ's
DJ
a
is such an
very
underrated runner.
I mean you can
Holy
even
cow.
say Sam Hartman can like get like I think all these quarterbacks in the
Absolutely.
college football. I mean you could say Shador, like people don't talk about Shador's like escapability either.
It's
Like
because, yeah, exactly. Escapability is the right word because half the time he doesn't really need to run, but this kid's escapability is possibly the best in the country.
I mean you
Even,
could say the same thing about I guess JJ is kind of known for his escapability because
yeah, because yeah, because his receivers don't get
I
open.
mean, even like, I mean, you could say Joe Milton and Michael Penix too. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think
Like
quarterbacks are just so talented, and like, I
like
think,
Bo Nix, granted, has been in college for 10,000 years,
yeah,
but
he's at Sean
he
Clifford
needs
status,
1,400 career rushing yards as a quarterback.
right? And I mean, they account sacks and everything like that
Season
too.
high is a 510 yards, and that was the last year with Oregon. The kid, and dude, every year, I mean, at Auburn, he didn't average the greatest, but since coming to Oregon, he's averaged 5 yards a carry. He had 14 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah, and I mean,
Like,
he
that's
was he was
who a
legitimate
threat
preseason
is there.
Heisman candidate. I think he still got like a decent amount of potential to win the Heisman. Like
Absolutely.
that, it's just like it's great. It's a great
It
brand of
is.
football over
Dude, he's
there at
got
Oregon.
32 rushing touchdowns in 5 years. Good for him, man.
Yeah, I mean
And
that's a lot
remember,
of
80 yard, he had an 80-yard scramble last year for a touchdown with Oregon. But yeah, I
yeah.
think that's a kid that just doesn't get enough love, and I think he gets more hate than love because of the fact that he was at Auburn, or not was at Auburn, has been in college football for 5 years. But
And he was not very productive at Auburn
I
either.
think that that is now out of the question, not Bo Nix's fault. Auburn was not a great system, and the fact that Bo Nix had as much shot, he shined as well as he did because yeah, his numbers weren't great, but he definitely had some games where it's like, holy cow, the entire I mean, I remember his freshman season the kid, everyone's like, oh my gosh, this kid, he's next up, right? And he did that in a terrible system. We've seen that with DJ. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think
I
it's
mean,
faulty
I
kid.
yeah, I think Auburn is just a terrible system. If you look at who they've tried, I mean, you got TJ Finley, you got Robbie Ashford, you got Peyton Thorne, and none of them have looked good yet. So
No. And
maybe
yet none of
it's
those guys were ever bad quarterbacks.
yeah. I mean, Peyton Thorne, like, I mean, 2 seasons ago he was really good, which you could say was because of Kenneth Walker, but like, still, I mean, he wasn't bad last year. And
No.
like, I mean, I think last year he just played hurt more than anything, and I don't
Yeah.
know what his injury
100%.
status is going into this season. But I mean, like TJ Finley, he's succeeding at Texas State too. Like he was a big reason why they beat Baylor. Like
Yes, absolutely.
maybe
Yeah.
it's just an
It's
Auburn
Auburn.
thing.
It's Auburn. I'm telling you, it's
I
just
mean, well,
Auburn.
who is the last good Auburn quarterback though? Cam
Cam
Newton.
Newton.
Yeah, I mean, what when they won the
Who was the guy
Iron
after
Bowl?
Newton?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who was the guy that won the Iron Bowl and they went to the national championship. Oh,
It's not Tosh Boyd, right?
no, Taj Boy was Clemson.
Yes.
God, this is a toughie. I don't know. I mean, there hasn't been like an Auburn quarterback that's been really good since then.
No. But
So
it's, oh my gosh. What is the name?
was 20.
Oh my gosh, Jarrett Stidham. That's right. He was there. Oh, I know the name we're thinking of.
Jared Stidham was that?
It's not Jarrett Stidham.
Okay.
It is the Marshall kid.
Oh,
Nick Marshall.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's what we're thinking of.
I mean, he was just an athletic kid playing QB. I mean,
Yes.
yeah. And that's also another thing. Like, you don't need a great quarterback to like. I mean, if you're the SEC and you just got to think of it this way: you don't need a great quarterback to win the college football playoff. If you got a good ground game, if you got a great defense, and your quarterback's able to, if your quarterback's athletic too, like if your quarterback's just unathletic and can't throw, like that's one thing. But if your quarterback's athletic, can make big throws and like just you
Right.
know,
If you're not trying to build a brand of being QBU or, showing that you're a factory for NFL quarterbacks,
right.
you're
And like
exactly right. If you want to win, if you just simply want to win in college football, that's how you do it. Athletic quarterbacks. OSU's done it for years. Braxton Miller literally converted to a receiver.
yeah,
Like Dwayne Haskins,
Terrell
uh,
Pryor,
Terrell Pryor, Cardale Jones, like all those guys
JT
were
Barrett,
not.
yeah.
JT Barrett never had a chance. I mean, Dwayne Haskins has had the most chance before Fields, but like none of those guys were NFL quarterbacks, going to be great NFL quarterbacks. And yet they won national championships left and right. We're competing with the best athleticism and great running backs. I mean,
Yeah.
when you got guys like
And
Zeke.
I mean defensively they played at a very high level with their defensive backs and
Oh,
edge rushers too. So
yeah. Edge rushers
I
helped.
mean that's why I'm not really concerned about Bama. Like to be honest, I don't think that like I think they just need to like use Milroe's athleticism more than anything. Like I don't even
Right.
think
Because it's Milrow all day. Like, I don't know why this narrative's getting pushed that they need to change. What guy gives them a better
what
chance
does
to win?
what does Buckner and Simpson offer that Jalen Milroe doesn't? Like
Right. And Jalen Milrow has this factor to him that none of those other guys have. It's the physicality, it's the run ability that you have to watch out for that eventually Saban's just
and
gonna kind of concede
it's
to and just
only
do this.
his third like game starting too. Like I
Dude,
don't think
he is succeeding one of the greatest Alabama quarterbacks of all time, the first overall pick, and he's trying to bring Bama on the
and it
map.
doesn't okay, and it doesn't help that the receiving weapons at Bama are not very
Right.
great.
Like he doesn't have Jamison Williams, he doesn't have Jerry Judy, he
He
doesn't
doesn't
have
have John
Ruggs.
Michi. Yeah.
Like, dude, these quarterbacks were throwing to generational college football receivers, generational first round draft picks. Not one of those receivers is going first round.
I don't
Caleb
even
Burton
know.
is not going first round.
Yeah.
Like, none of them are. Or Jermaine
Yeah.
Burton.
Yeah. I was gonna say Jermaine Deverton, Malik Benson's not going first round. Isaiah Bond's not going first round. Like and I think it's just like a developmental thing right now at Bama, but like it's just really tough. It's a great offensive line with an okay quarterback, decent running backs.
And mind you, they did. I mean, we do have to talk about it a little bit, but Bill O'Brien is not the OC there. And we've seen what he has done to the Patriots offense just after week one. Like Mac
Right.
Jones looked like a completely different player when Bill O'Brien was in the system. Bill O'Brien plays a big effect on that.
Yeah. And I
He's
think Tommy Reese is just not. I mean, we even saw it at Notre Dame. Like last year, like Notre Dame was a pretty simple offense to figure out why they weren't so successful and they got upset. It was Michael Mayer and a bunch of guys acting like they were gonna do something. Like
right. Acting is the perfect description.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Like I mean they had Kyron Williams, yeah, but
Right. And that's saying something. They had two guys who are legit NFL products
yeah.
and didn't do anything. You could argue that it was their quarterback play, but
I
you
mean,
could
I didn't think I
more.
mean Buckner got hurt and Pine. I mean, Pine's starting or benched behind a guy who is I mean, I love Jaden Rashada. I'm all in on the Jaden Rashada hype, even though like he started out against Oklahoma State great last
And
Saturday, and
I love
then
it. I think the kid he's playing with a chip on his shoulder, man. Remember, this is a kid that was supposed to be the starting quarterback for Florida,
Florida.
and then had an NIL problem, and that were actually just as more and more of the story comes out, it actually was very legit, and
Yeah, and I mean it happened with another kid at Florida too. So
yeah, and he's now coming out. He's had to go to a lower school because everyone thought this guy was a drama queen, and you know, balling now, absolutely balling. Love to hear those stories. Love to hear it.
any other really thoughts to talk about from week 2? Or
I'm trying to think. Just, I mean, we covered a
We
lot of
hit we
this.
hit the ball on a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And week two was just we kind of talked about in the first after the first show and at the beginning of this show or the last show, and that was that we're like, man, how do we live up to week two? Or how do we live up to week one? What an opening week, blah, 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 blah. Week two lived up to that. I mean, there was so many, just such good, so many good matchups. So many good matchups. Kansas, Illinois, like that was a Friday night game. That was a
Yeah.
great game. Jalen Daniels went nuts,
Yeah.
went nuts in that game.
BTW, the head coach, I didn't want to get the wrong name on air, but Lance Leipold. I thought
Like,
I was gonna say Narduzzi, and I'm like, that does not make that
no, 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 not that.
that
No,
does
no,
not
no.
make sense. But I mean, we'll obviously cover the games going into next week, but I don't think there's really one like the only games. There's like no big time games. Like it's actually gonna be not a great slate to like.
No, like I think the only good game to cover is Georgia, South Carolina.
That is that even a good game to cover?
But
Like
it's a
I think
possibility.
you know what I think it's a possibility that we give some this is a week where we give like some shine to smaller Power 5 teams and like some group.
Right. Yes. It's the possibility that Spencer Rattler could, put them just
I mean, I
shot.
think I think Minnesota UNC could be a trap game for UNC. Like
Absolutely.
that could
Um,
be a trap game. I mean, I'm
I
just
think I think we
scheming.
have another great opportunity to watch Riley Leonard just do his thing against Northwestern.
Wyoming, Texas could be a trap game. I know it's at Texas, but still, I mean, Texas Tech, they
Right.
lost
We
one,
saw the
man.
hangover effect play in the first half against Colorado. Will the hangover effect play in the first half against Texas or against Texas, and will it be enough for Wyoming to, make this game competitive and possibly
TCU
go
Houston's going to be a sneaky one to watch. I think
on?
FAU and
Hmm.
Clemson,
Florida,
Tom Herm,
Tennessee.
yeah,
Graham Mertz maybe has his game. Maybe
Syracuse Purdue should actually be like a really good game, to be honest. It was
hmm
a great game last
how
year.
about listen to this one? This is a little sneaky one. San Jose
Yeah,
State,
San versus
Toledo.
Toledo. Yeah, I
That'll
mean
be a
that
good
that's
one.
that's a great one, to be honest.
I love that game. How about Georgia Tech Ole Miss? Could be
Mm,
one.
Cincinnati,
Georgia.
Miami, Ohio could be a sneaky one. South
Yep.
Alabama versus Oklahoma State.
I think you hit it on the head though. This is a great week to watch low
Low,
tier college football
lower
team.
quality, yeah, lower tier football teams. I mean, obviously, like I'm still gonna watch like the top schools that are playing this week,
Absolutely.
face off. Like, I mean, I think San Diego State, Oregon State's okay, sneaky matchup too.
Dude, I don't know. I'm excited because I haven't gotten to watch Oregon State live yet this year, and
Yeah,
that's gonna be my goal for Saturday night is to watch them live. I want to see DJ play
yeah. I mean,
and just
I
how he
know,
this
like,
offense.
obviously, I have my announcing gig on Saturday, but that's only 11 to 5. So, I mean, I'm gonna be able to catch the tail end of the midday slates, and
I
I'm
will
gonna be
be
able to,
watching no midday.
yeah.
No.
I will be watching some nighttime games though live, and I mean, if they all get ugly, like I'll just be able to catch up on games earlier than Sunday. So
There we go. There we go. Yep.
I think though Virginia versus Maryland's a good game on Friday night. I probably won't be able to watch it personally, but it
No,
might be a game
won't
that
be watching it, but definitely going to be keeping an eye on it. I mean, I haven't even followed this Maryland team. This Maryland team's just been sneaky in the Big Ten.
yeah.
Toledo's looking like,
Oh
having
my
a good start
god.
to the season. A little
Oh my
547
gosh.
passing.
Yeah, I think week 4 is gonna be like the most fun week to talk about college football.
It might be the best. Like, it's to the point where I'm like, do I just literally take the entire weekend off and
Yeah.
just sit and
Is
watch
it
college football?
like do I really want? I mean, I probably will. I might just be like, hey,
It's COVID, right?
yeah,
COVID's back.
yeah,
Excuse. My gosh, man.
COVID.
Oregon State, Washington State, freaking UCLA, Utah. Like, what? This is going to be insane. USC, Arizona State's going to be a beautiful matchup. Florida
Yeah.
State, Clemson could be a really good game. Freaking Colorado, Oregon. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, even that Friday night, like
That's what I
Wisconsin,
was just about to say.
Purdue,
Wisconsin, Purdue. That's going to be
no,
a great
North
game.
Carolina State, Virginia, Boise State, SDSU. Like these
Yeah.
are all like Pretty good
both
games.
weeks.
I
Yeah.
mean, Florida State Clemson, yeah, that might be a good game. Auburn Texas A&M is going to be a battle of like who is the worst, SEC team. I
Love
think
those. Freaking Ohio State, Notre Dame, like Iowa, Penn State. That's
State, yeah.
Penn State's first test. Aller's first
I
test.
think UNC Pitt could be a good game. Same with Kansas State and UCF. Like
Yeah,
it's a great,
100%.
great weekend.
Washington, Cal. Love that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, is
Oh
Cal
man,
legit?
I'm not gonna overlook though. I got it. We got to
Yeah,
stay
we got to
balanced.
focus on we got to
Week
prepare
three
for
is gonna
week
be good.
three. We can't
Week
go
three
into
is gonna
a
be good.
week four prediction episode yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, any other things to leave before we
Oh man, just stay tuned for our week three prediction podcast. We're the upsets are hot right now. Who's gonna get
yeah.
the next one?
I
Will it
think
be
that's
both of
gonna
us?
I
Will it be
think we
one
might
of us?
have I think because the slate's so boring, we might have to try and predict too, to be
I
honest.
I, I agree.
Yeah.
I have to predict.
It's just one of those weeks where it's like, not very entertaining. Let's cause some chaos.
Let's make it entertaining. This is our opportunity.
Yeah.
It's like when it's a blowout game and you're calling a game. It's like, all right, now it's time for my personality to shine. Now
Yeah.
it's I'm the center of attention now, not the game. So
Mm.
let's make it entertaining. I think that's what we do. We don't have the entertaining games to talk about, the deep dive analysis. So let's have some fun with this one. So make sure to stay tuned. It's
Yep.
gonna be a good one. It's
Make
gonna be a
sure
good one.
to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review. Check us out on YouTube. Check out the social medias on X and Instagram. And yeah, we got some real TikTok, shorts coming along that we're gonna
So
start being in the process of.
the
So
brand,
yeah,
baby.
you were
Brand is building.
you could
Engage
say you
are
bet. Yeah,
coming.
yeah. I mean, Engage 8 literally is sending 8 players into the backfield. So, but yeah,
Yes, sir.
thank you for listening. Share the episode with your mom, dad, grandma, even grandpa,
Yep,
maybe your
grandpa would
dog,
love it.
maybe your
Yep.
dog.
Yeah, exactly. I think our voices are soothing enough for an animal.
Yeah, cat might be like taking a nap, wakes up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like.
Doing the job.
All
So,
right.
yes, sir.
All right. Yeah.